This is the first coronation we are seeing in 70 years. There are few people alive today who have seen the coronation of the late Queen in 1953. What does it mean to you as a British subject to witness this today?
Well, it feels as if we're touching history. It demonstrates that the Elizabethan era has closed and the period of the King's reign is really starting, and is starting with a clarion message to the world about his dedication. The words of the coronation service repay close study, I think, to see that this is a king who is committing himself to the service of the people.
What is the role of the monarchy in the modern world?
Well, it isn't a political role, it's not a government role, but the king does have a position in the constitution, and therefore the government is his government, but he acts only on behalf of the government. So it's quite difficult for anybody outside the country who isn't looking at it all of the time to understand exactly how it works. But I think you can decipher some really important things about the monarchy and about the king, and as you say, unity is one of them. Unity and inclusion. And we're going to see that in the coronation itself, not just the pretty carriages and the wonderful clothes, but the words that are being spoken, which have been chosen especially for an era beginning in 2023. That's what we need to look at, I think.
You have met the king on occasion, I believe, and his late mother. What is he like as a person? What are his interests?
Well, I think we see what his interests are partly through his visits to Romania, and we know that he cares passionately about the preservation of our planet, and anything which damages our planet's future through climate change, through loss of biodiversity and habitat. Clearly that is really very important for him, and the preservation of the planet on which we live could not be more important. Beyond that, he's a very inclusive person. He speaks to people of all ages, of all types, and he brings the nation together. And I think in a way Romania experiences that in the way that he acts when he's here. But what he discovered are elements of Romania which respond exactly to what he wants to see in terms of preserving the balance between man and nature. And I think that's the thing, more than anything else, which brings him back.
And in a way he became a kind of cultural ambassador to Romania. And we were wondering, now that he is king, do you believe he will return here on holiday, perhaps someday? Will we ever see him again in Romania?
You know, I think everybody I've met since he became king has asked me that question. I very much hope that he will. I know that he draws immense strength from the peace that he discovers in the wildflower meadows in the Carpathians, and from talking to people that he's worked with for a couple of decades now. So I'm sure if he possibly can, he will, but when that would be, I really can't say.
The coronation we will see now is somewhat different. It's smaller in size, and it has elements, specific elements, to the times we live in. What are these differences? What elements will we be seeing in this coronation?
Well, I think if we were facing the coronation of 1953, if we had that today, I think we would think it looked very old-fashioned. There was a lot of red velvet and ermine and lots of people in coronets, and it will look very different to that. So in 53 there was homage by the House of Lords to the King. That has been replaced in the service this year by homage by the people, and that's a fundamental shift of democracy, if you like, and I think that will go throughout the coronation service itself. The roles that were formerly taken by the Lords will be taken by ordinary people of all backgrounds, and there will be a very good reflection of the fact that we are a diverse country. The King will be met by a child, And that innocence and that symbol of, if a child can stand as the representative of the whole of our community, I think that shows how much more sensitive and how much more inclusive that coronation is than the traditional one in 1953.
Our special correspondents there, Andreea Gurban and Vitalie Cojocarii, speak of a sense of excitement.
Yes.
There are people camping out in the streets. What are your feelings now, witnessing history in the making?
Well, I'm very conscious that I've had a whole career in Her Majesty's diplomatic service before moving seamlessly into His Majesty's diplomatic service. But of course, throughout that period, I and the rest of us have known the Prince of Wales and his activism and his bravery to stand up for views which, when he started speaking about them, were very unfashionable indeed. And I think that gives us all a signal that to speak up for the right thing is something that is important. And I think that will continue to be the hallmark of a monarchy, which will give us the same feeling of service as we saw with his mother, Her late Majesty.
Would you like to add anything else? Aveți un mesaj pentru români?
Cred că încoronarea regelui nostru va fi un moment deosebit pentru români, pentru că regele nostru cunoaște foarte bine această țară. Voi îl cunoașteți pe regele extrem de bine. Este o relație de admirare și cred că aici va fi probabil efectul cel mai marcat în comparație cu celelalte țări din lume.
Mulțumim!
Mulțumesc mult!